Nick Slack, the guy everybody in wrestling knows, but you ever think about why they know you? It's like I sit there and when we first met, it's like, I feel like I know that guy. Why do we know that guy? You have probably seen so many different places, so many tournaments, so many coaching chairs, but you might be one of the most recognizable people in wrestling, and people, they can't always put a finger on it. So how would you describe your relationship with the sport of wrestling?
God, Jason, I don't know if I've ever really thought about it like that. I just have been real fortunate to be around a lot of people in the sport. My dad was a wrestler, wrestled at Mankato State for Rummy Macias way back in the day, and he was the guy that got me into the sport and just fell in love with it. He was just super supportive with me, and I just surrounded myself with a lot of different people, going to Gopher matches growing up, went to a few Augsburg matches, and just have been around the sport doing many facets, everything from my full-time job right now. I sell sporting goods, so I sell to mostly wrestling coaches. I've officiated before. I've wrestled at the college level, high school level, coached at the college level, coach at the high school level, still coach at the high school level today. So I guess I've been around the sport for almost, about 40 years now.
Yeah, we go back in time. You talk about your dad. You have the unique opportunity. You and your dad travel around wrestling tournaments. I see you guys at NCAAs. At the ballpark down in Texas. I mean, it's cool to travel the country with your dad watching wrestling.
It's been pretty special. I've been going to the NCAA tournament. My first one was 1996 when it was hosted at the Target Center in Minneapolis. And then since 2001, I've been to every single NCAA Division I wrestling tournament. And I think my dad started coming with us probably about 2008, 2009. So he's made about 15 of them now in a row. And it's just something that we put on the calendar every year, and we just set aside time, and it's just really a special weekend.
So when we met years ago, Scott West, where you wrestled in high school, but it's not a high school. It's a co-op. Minnesota has co-ops. It's not an uncommon thing around the country, but where I was from, Virginia, we didn't have co-ops. So explain what Scott West is for those who are not from Minnesota.
Sure. So Scott West is a wrestling program co-op between two towns, Belle Plaine and Jordan, Minnesota. They're two separate high schools. The only sport they're together with is wrestling. Probably just a little backstory. In the late 1980s, both Belle Plaine and Jordan were having a numbers problem in wrestling, and it was probably getting to the point where they could have dropped one program or both programs. They're both having a numbers crunch, and this is where Kevin Slack comes in. The way he thinks about outside thinking and the greater good for the sport of wrestling. Two of the biggest probably rival schools in the Minnesota River Conference who probably didn't like each other, he came up with this idea along with a bunch of other people on how to make this work with these two programs that were having a numbers problem, and it's definitely been the most successful co-op program in Minnesota. And at first, no one really had probably a problem with it, and then once you become successful, people start putting their finger on it a little bit more. But we've had a lot of good support over the years with different coaches, and it's been a very successful program. I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but numerous section championships, state place-winning trophies, state champions, etc.
Yeah, and it's unique. So now, like up in St. Cloud, they call it the Crush. The same. Scott West is Belle Plaine and Jordan. Most places they go like Newfield, Caledonia, hyphen. You just went, you're in Scott County, so that's where it comes from in the West. So it seems kind of natural to come up with that.
Yeah, so there was probably a couple programs that had paired in different sports throughout like the western part of Minnesota that did like Sibley East or Yellow Medicine East, some different co-ops back in the day. So I think that was just kind of natural to go with Scott West, western part of Scott County, which is still in the metro part of the Twin Cities metropolitan area.
So yeah, it's a fringe metro. Now we talk about getting into wrestling. What would have found interesting about Belle Plaine and Jordan, and we joke about this still to this day, is back when phones were a thing. You're from Belle Plaine, but you were on the Jordan line, which meant when you were in school, sometimes calling home was a long distance call.
Yeah, so I was guilty of this a couple times. So if you forgot something at home going to the Belle Plaine school. We were actually the only ones who have a Belle Plaine address but a Jordan phone number. So Jordan had a different line. It was the Metro line, so it was actually long distance to call from Belle Plaine to Jordan. So there were a couple times where I forgot stuff and you'd beg the secretary to let you call home, and it was just a different time back then. It's just kind of funny to laugh about.
And they knew, no, you're the guy with the long distance number.
It was definitely my phone number that showed up, my parents' phone number that showed up for all the long distance charges in Belle Plaine.
So coming through high school, you multiple time place winner at the juniors, you know, couple time Minnesota high school state champion, placed in HSAs. I mean, you had good credentials in an era of Minnesota wrestling. Just some of the guys that were coming through your senior class the year before, year after, it's a who's who of Minnesota wrestling.
So in 1997, Minnesota won the freestyle portion of the Junior National Championships, Team Minnesota, and I think the University of Minnesota was right on the door knocking to win a national championship, and Augsburg had already won a couple Division III championships. So it was just a great time as a high school wrestler growing up. Minnesota wrestling was definitely on the rise, and I just feel that probably because of that, and I did have some success, and Augsburg was definitely one of my college choices. The University of Minnesota was one of the college choices, and when I was thinking of school, there was a bunch of different factors that came in, and I just had a great visit at Augsburg. I had a relationship with Donnie Wickman, who I had saw a lot selling clothing and shoes at different tournaments. And when I came to Augsburg, and we're sitting at Augsburg right now, it was just a special place, and just had a great tour, a great experience with all the guys on the team. Guys that were actually going to be competing against for a starting spot at Augsburg were giving me my tour, and the guy that I was going to be competing against was selling me on how to go to and on why I should go to Augsburg. And I think about that quite a bit. Where you're really competitive in a certain spot, and this guy is selling me on going to Augsburg, and it was just like a family atmosphere, and I guess I couldn't really say no to Augsburg.
Yeah, we look at the names in that era. I mean, you won a title as a sophomore, then wrestled Jacob Volkman your junior year, won a title as a senior. I mean, you've got all the credentials. I mean, if this were the internet era were around really, like it is now, you probably would have been called by almost every Division I school in the country. Yet you chose Division III Augsburg. You sold it in that manner. But when you look at like the guys around you, I mean, Marcus Levesser was on in that era. I mean, you were teammates with Pat McNamara, who at Scott West people know from Michigan State. You know, you come from good stock wrestling, and then you come to a program that's got good stock, and then you've got guys like Luke Becker also around you, and on all those junior teams and such. And heyday of high school wrestling in Minnesota, could be argued, but you look around, there's not as many spots at the U. What other Division I's were you even considering, or was that on the table? You know,
I think it was kind of hard. I grew up on a farm, and my dad and I had talked about farming together for a long time, and it was something where probably my parents and I sat down and we said that farming could always be in the background. It could always be something that happens when I'm done with college, but it was important at the time that I go get an education somewhere. So that was just super important to my parents, and then when I thought about it, I could always have farming to fall back on, and Augsburg just became the choice for me.
You look at nationally ranked guys don't go Division III unless usually people be like, oh, well, grades or afraid of a competition. Your freshman year, you're in the lineup as a guy with a lot of high school credentials. You qualify for the national tournament, but you don't place. So what was your understanding of quality of Division III wrestling coming in, and how quickly did the reality of how good Division III wrestling was actually get set in?
Oh, it definitely got to me pretty quick. Actually, this summer when I came up to work out with some of the guys right after junior nationals before school started, I was like, wow, it's maybe in the back of my head I was thinking it might be a little bit easier than it was going to be, but I got put in my place real quick that it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be no cakewalk when I got on campus competing for a starting spot.
Yeah, how hard were those wrestle-offs?
I'd say every day, you know, I was working out with people that had won national championships, and I think the special thing about Augsburg is every year we had about 8 to 12 different assistant coaches that were former alumni that came back, that were national champs, starters, All-Americans, just guys that wanted to give back to the program, and those guys were wrestling with us every single day. Coaches were wrestling with us who had won national championships, All-Americans, they were starters at Augsburg every single day. So every single day was just a battlefield in here, trying to earn a starting spot.
When you go through your sophomore year, you win a national title, you know, Augsburg and Wartburg is very much a thing starting in the early to mid 90s. And how much did that rivalry really shape not just the battles between the teams, but your performance at nationals, knowing that the guys from Waverly are on your heels or vice versa every single year?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. I get this question asked a lot, the Battle of the Bergs, and it's such a special rivalry that, you know, obviously started in the early 90s when Jeff Swenson was already coaching at Augsburg, won his first title in 91, and then Jim Miller comes over from Wartburg and wins the national title a couple years later. And every single year, Augsburg and Wartburg they're knocking at the door to win national championship, and it just elevates everybody. And it's pretty hard to explain. All the guys circle the dual meet on the calendar every single year, and it's just super cool.
Do you know your record against Wartburg wrestlers?
I think I've definitely had the upper hand. I know I lost one my freshman year, so I would think it's probably about maybe 6-1 or so.
Yeah, because when you were coming in, the Division III national duels weren't yet a thing, and they came in later. So it used to be the one duel in the schedule. Then you started meeting 2 times a year. So the series started, you know, hitting a lot, and sometimes it'd be a week between. You'd be like national dual meet title on the line, and then now we're going down to Waverly. Oh, now we've got them coming up here to Minneapolis. So how much did the national duels really kind of help add more power to that Battle of the Bergs dual meet?
Oh, I think it elevates it every year. I mean, if you would probably look at the history, the team that's won the national duels is probably more than likely between Augsburg and Wartburg won the national title the same year. So I think it's just the national duels now we're talking is just such a huge measuring stick for where you are. Usually happens in the middle of January. A lot of teams can then evaluate after that, but there's definitely a lot of stock that takes place in winning that dual meet, and I definitely think the team that's won the national duels between Augsburg and Wartburg is probably more than likely won the national title at the Division III championships the same year.
You know, I've been around the rivalry the last, I guess, decade and a half at this point. In some years, the dual meet is one thing, and then the national tournament's another. How magical is the national tournament? What do you remember most about those battles in the dual meets, and then turn around and be like, oh, there was your team, oh, he flipped a result from the tournament that he lost in the dual meet? What those type of magic moments?
Gal, so it's just
anyone stand out? Any one performance?
Oof, you're really putting me on the spot.
What about your performance?
Definitely, I would say I was definitely getting on a roll. Probably junior year, I was starting to be more dominant on top, starting to pin a lot more people. Had some success against the Wartburg guys and got a couple pins, and I think carrying that momentum into the national tournament probably sticks out a little bit.
Now we go back your sophomore year, you win a title. You know, you punch through. Not only do you place for the first time, you win it. Then you come back your sophomore year and your junior year, and this is where your name gets almost forgotten because you were kind of like a trivia answer to a question nobody actually knows how to ask the question. So this is the year 2001. Cale Sanderson wins the Dan Hodge Trophy, and he shares it with a Division III wrestler from Simpson College named Nick Ackerman. you're the other half of that trivia question. Who did Nick Ackerman beat in the national finals? And for those who don't know, he's a double amputee at the knees. So here you are, the returning national champion from an evil empire of Division III wrestling. There must have been nobody in that building except your family and Augie's rooting for you that match.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy time for me, and I'll take nothing away from Nick Ackerman and what he's accomplished. It was a great feat. It was pretty crazy to be part of that moment, and congratulations again to Nick. Just backing up and not making any excuses. Probably about 3 weeks before that national tournament, a lot of people probably don't know, and what happened is I blew out my knee completely. I completely tore my LCL and PCL. I later find out that Jordan Burroughs had the same injury, and he wasn't able to compete for that whole year. And I was a captain, I was a defending national champ, I was the leader of the team. I wanted to make a point. It was past the point of doing a medical red shirt. I don't even know if the medical red shirt really crossed my mind. It was something like, how can we figure out how to wrestle in this tournament? So it was about 2 more weeks until the qualifying tournament. Met with a specialist, got a special knee brace made, met with our trainer, Missy, who did an unbelievable job of rehabbing what we could, getting me some extra workouts, getting me over to St. Thomas where I could swim and just do everything that I possibly could to get me in the best shape that I could. I was on a long match win streak. I think I had won 60 some matches, defending national champ. I wanted to be a great example for Augsburg and the program and toughness. And 2 weeks later, I'm wrestling in the qualifying tournament, and 3 weeks later, I'm wrestling in the NCAA finals. And that match didn't go how I wanted, and it's unfortunate, I guess, for me that I lost that, but I'm super thankful. The year before, I was an NCAA champ. I'm super thankful that I was part of 3 national titles as a wrestler. I was a 2-time captain of this team. And there's just so many things that I'm just grateful for. I'm grateful that I sucked it up and still wrestled. I think a lot of times now when people get injured, they use it as an excuse, and they might use it to end their season. And I'm just proud of the way I think that I wrestled through that. And I think maybe that's why people know me. They know that I'm classy. They know I work hard. They know I don't make excuses. And yeah, and now here we are, a long time later. Just going on some things, that I think I'm super proud of. I was the first person from Scott West, bell planer Jordan, to wrestle at Augsburg. And I think there's been almost 15 people from our high school that have competed for Augsburg. The head coach of Augsburg now, Tony Valek, was from Scott West. Scott West now has produced, I believe, the most All-Americans from any other high school who's had wrestlers compete at Augsburg. And all that stuff is special because I guess it did start with me.
Yeah, I mean, the head coach is here, and you've got, the All-American last year, Matt Randolph is from down there. So you've got, it's everywhere you go. Oh, Scott West, all right, Nick Slack. And then, here it's people don't mention Pat McNamara anymore. It's like it starts with Nick Slack.
Yeah.
No offense, Pat.
No, and that's crazy too, because Pat was the guy for Scott West that won the first state championship and really got it done. So it's always that first guy that, I love that guy to death, man. He used to beat me silly. We were about the same weight, if you could believe that, back in the day. But he's the guy that got it done for Scott West and really paved the way for a lot of us Scott West Panthers who won state and titles eventually in our career.
Yeah. See, and back to the Scott West. As a Panther, what's Belle Plaine?
Belle Plaine is the Tigers.
And what's Jordan?
Jordan for the boys sport is Hubman, and for girls it's Jaguars. So Jordan, technically, from what I've been told,
there's 4 banners on the wall, right? How many different banners are there of team names on that wall? I've been in the gym, I can't remember.
Well, you've got Hubman for the guys.
What is a Hubman?
That's somewhat you'll have to ask like Matt Randolph or something about that, some Jordan guy. But Jordan used to be the hub of Scott County, so I guess they used to call him the hubman.
Yeah. We'll table the Scott County history Chamber of Commerce questions. But with that loss, you come back the next year. What was the rehab like the next year? Because you don't redshirt in Division III. You can get medical hardships, but you came right back at it, made the finals the next year.
Yeah, so I had surgery probably about 2 weeks after we got back from the national tournament. Rehab, so the surgery was probably the first week in April, if I remember right. Rehab was about 12 weeks, really on crutches for quite a while. Pretty strenuous, to the point where we weren't even sure if I was going to be ready for the first tournament of the year, the Augie Open.
Which is mid-November. So we're talking a mid-February injury, and here we go almost all the way to November, and October, November.
Somewhere in there, you have to try and recover and get the muscle strong enough, able to compete.
Any hesitation to drive off of it once you were cleared?
No, I mean, I was pretty confident. It felt good. Rehab team was awesome, right across the street. Was in there a lot, listened to my body, didn't try and get back any sooner than I needed to be. It was just really smart with my rehab.
When we look at the next step, so the next year you're in the finals again, you lose in the finals again. So you've reached the pinnacle of Division III athletics on the wrestling mat, and then you're a part of what is an amazing story if you're a Simpson College fan or anybody outside of this wrestling room. And then the next year you've got this ringer from Montclair State who came in and who incidentally, he won it that year. He beat you in the finals. Then he loses in the finals the next 2 years. So it's kind of weird. The guy that, you went 1-2-2 the last three, and then he went 1-2-2 the last three. I mean, as far as not being able to get back on the podium again at the top of it, what did that do to Nick Slack, the human being? First of all, how hard is that to not get there, taste it once and not get there 2 more times and you're so close?
To be honest, I go back to what I said before. I was just super thankful that I had the chance to win one national title. When you look back at it, I wasn't going to be super selfish. I mean, there were so many guys at Augsburg that were just right behind me, that were just as good as me, that didn't get a chance, and I was just better than them. And it would be super selfish for me to say that, winning 3 titles was like this, like.
Wrestling is hard.
Yeah, it's super hard. It's super hard to win. To win those 3 titles would have just been, super selfish of me to say. I was just super happy I won 1. Again, super happy I was part of 3 national team championships, 1 runner-up championship, a 2-time captain of the team.
What would Marcus have said?
Marcus? I don't know.
That's a guy that never lost in college.
Yeah, you'll have to ask Marcus. I don't know what he said.
One thing, we were at the state tournament this past year, and in the suite watching the state finals, and those guys, you're in there the suite. There's your college teammates. There's people they're not starters, and then they were all Americans watching their kids, watching your teammates' kids, watching your competitors' kids out there, and it seems like this is a program that there's a brotherhood. Once you're gone, you're still connected forever. You come back all the time, even though you lived here quite a bit. You live in Arizona now, but it seems like the brotherhood of the small college wrestling program seems to be just knit year after year after year after year. What's that attributed to here?
Man, I think it just goes back to probably obviously Jeff Swenson when he started the program. Family atmosphere. It goes back to those 8 to 12 assistant coaches that came back and made pennies every year because they just want to be part of the program. They want to be part of something special. They could have gone on and coached somewhere else at a high school level, made a lot more money. They just want to be part of Augsburg. And I think really the assistant coaches that came back probably influenced me the most. Someone like Donnie Wickman, who was here every single day, lifting with people in the weight room at 5 o'clock after working a full-time job. The guy was making recruiting calls at night. The guy knew every single person in Minnesota and Wisconsin and helped build the program. And so many of us wrestlers, when we were done competing, stuck around and were assistant coaches for a long time because we wanted to give back because the coaches before us did the same thing.
And talk about Donnie, and he was here a long time, and it's been 6 years. You posted this while you were coaching with Team Arizona in Fargo. He passed away 6 years ago. And, how often do you think about Donnie Wickman?
Oh, every day. Every day. Man, that guy, he was just a good dude. And it's hard to not get all emotional when you start talking about the guy, but it just goes back to what I just said. The guy just put so much time into Augsburg and so much time into kids. The guy owned a sporting goods business where he was selling at tournaments on a weekend, and I helped work some of his booths. And there was just countless times where someone couldn't afford something or someone needed a discount and some team needed something, and Donnie just worked with them. And I saw that kind of stuff, and I do that stuff in my business almost daily as well.
And that was the door that got you into doing what you're doing now. I mean, you're naturally a people person. You can talk for hours at a time about anything, which is probably why we're friends. We can talk about anything for hours at a time. But was that where the seed of Nick Slack, the salesman, got started, was with Donnie?
Definitely Donnie probably started it. There was a guy named Charlie Peterson who worked here. He was a wrestler for Luther back in the day. He was a national finalist. He was working for Champion, and he was selling to Augsburg, and part of my work study job was helping to order the gear for the team for the coming year. So I was working with Charlie on ordering stuff. I had asked Charlie if he had anyone that he'd ever hired before, and I actually technically started working for Charlie right out of college.
I think my first Augsburg zip-up, three-quarter zip was a Champion that you gave me.
Yeah, it probably definitely was.
Probably 2008, 2009-ish. Because we really sat down, and it was one of the conventions as we're coming up on the NWCA convention, and right before we go, we're recording this. But I remember we're sitting back. I don't know if it was Buffalo or Pittsburgh or Vegas or whatever, and you had the chance. I remember we were all trying to put on different sizes. Like, hey, can you fit? I remember trying to put on like a medium purple, whatever, and it's like, no, it was not a great ringing endorsement for Cornell College. Let me tell you that.
It wasn't fitting. I remember that. I'm not sure where it was, but I definitely remember those.
Yeah.
Those
so,
days.
And then you've had that opportunity to have that relationship with. Again, this goes with why everybody knows you. They just, I know that guy. And being so sociable, what is it about wrestling coaches and wrestling people that's so infectious to be around for you?
I think that wrestling coaches just generally know how hard the sport is. And deep down inside, they know that they're changing lives by making someone stick through the hard times of wrestling. I honestly don't know. There probably isn't too many wrestlers that probably haven't thought about quitting at some point in their career, because it's pretty tough. And college wrestling coaches and high school wrestling coaches and youth wrestling coaches are shaping the youth of tomorrow.
Talk about coaches. We're going to bring this back to Donnie a little bit. And he passed 6 years ago, and he was fighting. It was brain cancer, brain tumor. And what did you see from Donnie in his fight? Because my last interview with him was weeks before he passed. It was at an Augsburg duel. And he was still here. He was still in the gym. Obviously, he wasn't coaching, but he was still close to the program. And up until his final days, he was still around the sport and around the sport of wrestling. So, when you watched his fight from afar and up close, what are some things you saw from that still follow you today?
The guy never felt sorry for himself, and that's hard to do. That's hard to do. He just wanted to set a great example. He wanted to fight with everything he had till the very end. He had glioblastoma, which is a cancer that not very many people survive for too many years. I think the life expectancy is 1 to 2 years, and I think he made it about 6. And that's just, the guy was built like a Greek god. The guy was just chiseled, worked out every day, which helped, and just fought to the very end.
And the situation, as life has a weird sense of irony, I wouldn't call it humor, is a couple years ago, you got a medical diagnosis that was while not exactly similar, now you've got something that's in your head that you've got to fight. And how quickly did Donnie's fight come right back to mind when you got the diagnosis of what was going on with you?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Just to give you a little backstory, I had suffered from depression for a long time. I had suffered from depression for probably about 30 some years. And I had such great family support, such great faith, and such great friends that I don't really know if I would be here today without those people helping hold everything together. And I had just prayed for a long time that hopefully something would work. Had just been on so many different medications, tried different diets, tried different workout things, just saw so many different specialists over the years, and happened to move to Arizona, made a life change about 3 years ago now, and just ran into a doctor down there that happened to listen, and through talking with him, we decided to pull some blood and do some different tests. And this guy thought, just with all the background information that I had, he just thought that there could possibly be something more that maybe someone else missed. And through just having an open mind and talking to this guy, we pulled blood about 24 hours later after the appointment. I was getting an MRI about 48 hours later, and they found a brain tumor. And the craziest thing about the whole deal is probably, like you said, thinking about Donnie, it was like, wow, they found something, and this could possibly be what has been going on for 30 years, possibly leading to the depression. The other side of it was, this might not be good. I have a brain tumor. So that whole thing was like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and then circling back, thinking about what Donnie went through the whole time. It was just different ton of emotions pulling all different ways.
And watching you go through that from afar, you know, you were guarded, but you were still open about it on social media. You know, you're out in Arizona, your family and your friends are mostly here, even though you're connected around the country, as we've talked about. But you were calculated in when you told people certain things, and not to upset people, but also to make sure that this is also a deeply personal thing. That first bout with it, when they started to treat it, you said you immediately noticed improvements in your mental health. That depression kind of went away. What was the battle like the first time? And I say the first time because there's more to come. But when that first hurdle was cleared, what was going through your mind? What was don't want to say new lease on life, but what was the general feeling of what was going through your head?
Meeting with the doctors, they told me that they felt that this tumor had been in there for about 30 years. They thought that this could have been the root cause of it. I was feeling pretty dang good. I was feeling pretty confident. They were pretty confident once this thing was removed, I was going to have a brand new lease on life. And once we got to that point, I was feeling pretty freaking good. I was feeling pretty confident. I was feeling very thankful and grateful.
You became a workout beast again too, man. You started trimming up. You were like the Hulk out there. And for those who are unaware, you started coaching again out there. You were coaching out here, again, college and high school. Then you're out with Valiant College Prep, which most people are aware of, that crew of kids that are coming through from Arizona right now.
Yeah.
So you're involved with them as well.
I am. Yeah. So it's just been cool. It's just been awesome. Talking about the tumor, I have surgery. I probably feel better, honestly, within, they told me once I was having surgery, expect to stay in the hospital 3 to 6 days after this. And within 1 day afterwards, they looked at me, they did the tests. They said, hey, we've never seen anyone go home after 1 day, but you can go home. And I was like, oh man, this is just can't get much better than this. And just feeling super high. And I went home the next day. But leading up to it, yeah, they definitely told me that to get ready for this surgery, you know, you need to be in the best physical shape that you could. And I was already working out pretty heavily, coaching at Valiant College Prep, working out every day, trying to lift, trying to be outdoors in Arizona. And just going back to, you know, the new lease on life, I just thought, man, I can't take any days for granted. I gotta be out there doing something. I gotta be moving my body. I gotta be thankful. No excuses.
And you got to rub it into all your friends back here in Minnesota that you got a foot of sunshine every day.
Yeah, I will say Arizona has been a blessing. You know, it's been a blessing. When it's sunny 330 days out of the year, it's hard not to get up at 5 in the morning when the sun's coming up and be just grateful that you're in there. I do come back quite a bit, like you said, and I do roll around in the snow and I do jump in the cold ice lakes just to remind myself the stuff that I've been through. Super grateful for Valiant College Prep. I really didn't know much about that program. I really didn't know anything. I had asked a buddy to make a list of 3 or 4 programs I should check out when I moved to Arizona. And Valiant College Prep, to be honest, was the closest one to my house. And it was the first one that I had visited. And just things ended up working out that I was able to volunteer there.
Now, and you're coming off a week of Fargo coaching freestyle and Greco, and you know, styles that Minnesota has been, you know, great in. There's the, you know, you hear Minnesota gut back in the day. You got to teach. They got to teach the kids that again, because that was my first memory of Minnesota Fargo is guys out there like, you know, Tyler Safratoich is a little guy with, you know, working the gut wrench, or Hayden Zilmer is an 84-pounder. He ain't 84 pounds anymore. But, you know, the kids chanting it all, and it was, again, freestyle and Greco. It was a thing. Illinois has got a really good program with that right now, as the two states like to jaw a little bit online. But when you're down there coaching Fargo, different set of kids. These are different kids. You're not coaching your friends' kids like you did in Minnesota. What's it like to try to, you know, basically introduce yourself as a coach to a new population of kids that they don't know? Minnesota people know who Nick Slack is, but Arizona folks probably don't pay much attention to Division III wrestling.
Yeah, they might not, I guess. People like Valiant and just different schools that I've went around to Arizona, I think their coaches did some homework and did some research, and the way that the internet works now, there's still some results up there. So I think they definitely realize that I've had some success at the high school and college level where I've been at. And probably what I try and do, you know, as a coach is, I'm probably the coach that tries to get kids to realize that, you know, once you're done wrestling, you know, there's more to life. Trying to be a good kid and a good person while you're wrestling, while you love the sport. But I'm that guy that probably tries to instill a good work ethic in them and keep things loose, help them love the sport, and just try and realize that you need to be a good person. You need to give back to the sport when you're done, and that there's probably more to life once you're done with wrestling.
There's more to life with Nick Slack too, but we talked in Fargo, and right before Fargo, you got on social and you had some bad news for people. So what's the latest update on what you're dealing with now, and where do you currently sit outside of this wrestling room?
Yeah, so it's interesting talking about the highest of highs. October of 2022, had successful surgery to move a brain tumor, and I've got a super rare set of cells, and the doctors told me that it's less than like 0.1% in the world. And they told me that there's a chance that a tumor could come back at some point later on, and I have another brain tumor.
And so what's the treatment here? Is this, you know, how are we looking at, you know, day by day for Nick Slack? So
I was super hopeful when I had went in and talked to my team of doctors. I saw about 5 different specialists, and I was hoping that we were just going to have surgery. It would be like last time. They would go in, pull it out. I'd be sitting in the hospital one night and be home the next day. And after reviewing imaging and seeing these 5 different specialists, they said that they can't operate on this tumor.
So where's this one at in relation to the other one?
It's still at the base of the brain. It's in a different spot, and they have made the determination that having surgery could possibly damage a part of the brain where it would do more harm than good.
What are other treatment? I mean, as somebody, you know, they talk about chemo, they talk about things to shrink and maybe mitigate. So, you know, where are we at in those conversations?
So right now, the care team has just been awesome. One of the best brain tumor centers in the world is actually located in Phoenix, the Ivy Brain Tumor Center at Barrow Neurological. And I go in for treatment about once a month. They give me some medicine that's helping keeping the tumor at bay. This will probably be a long, drawn-out process right now to keep the tumor at bay. Goes back to, I just have to keep it in the best possible shape that I can, thinking positive every day. And as much as I would have liked to just have surgery and be done, it's something that's going to be in my daily life for right now, taking things day by day, and we will go from there.
How much does helping coach kids help you deal with what's on your mind?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You know, the kids were asking me at Valiant, you know, like how I was doing. It was pretty well known down there. I was probably going to have a surgery, and I just had to tell these guys before Fargo, hey, don't worry about me. You know, you guys worry about getting yourself to be the best wrestler you can, get yourself ready for Fargo. I've got a good care team. When stuff becomes available, I'll share it. And being around kids and being around wrestling has just been awesome. They're just gives you something to look forward every day. I honestly don't think about this too much. This is all brand new. You're one of the first people that has known about it, and again, I just look at the positives. Got a great care team down in Arizona, taking it day by day, and I'm hopeful that we will somehow beat this one.
When it comes to people's journeys, you know, sometimes there's people out there that are, they make a social media, for lack of a better term, persona out of it. It's blogs, it's GoFundMes, it's just, you're very guarded, you are very calculated, and you know, you put this thing out here, you put this thing out here. You're an open book to your friends, but you're not an open book to the rest of the world. So how hard is it for you to kind of address this to people that aren't part of your inner circle?
Well, I think more recently, I've become public. I've been pretty public about dealing with depression. I've been public about some other stuff. I've got some stuff in the works where I'm really going public because I really think I can do some good. I really think by telling my story and some of the stuff that I'm going to be having coming out in the next couple months, I really think we're going to do a lot of good for the wrestling community and a lot of good in the world as well.
There's a lot of things people draw on in these situations. You've obviously got a very, very good family support system there. You've talked about your medical support team, your care team. You've got your former college teammates. You've got the kids you coach, the coaches you coach with. And also you've talked about your faith. Recently, you posted something pretty emotional about we both went to Eagle Brook. I am a regular attender at the Spring Lake Park campus. You talked about attending a campus in Apple Valley, and the message that Bob Merritt, the former senior pastor, presented seemed to check a lot of boxes and speaks to you. Sometimes it's People can look at faith a bunch of different ways. Some people put everything in their faith. Some people use it as a supplement. Some people live that way daily life. How much is the faith element crucial in Nick Slack's journey to, maybe it's not recovery, it's management. Where does that play? Family, friends, faith?
Faith is definitely right up there. It's something that I work on every single day, reading the Bible, going over Bible verses, praying. As of recent years, I've really tried to have a gratitude journal and writing down about 5 things a day that I'm super grateful for. I like to look back and reflect, even if you're having a bad day and you open up a journal and it shows all these things that you're thankful for. Some of those daily problems just seem to just kind of dissipate and go away.
They talk about miracles, they talk about divine intervention and things of that nature, but some people, I'll speak for myself here, there's value in something else. There's value in faith, not just reading the Bible or drawing inspiration from it, but there's genuine value in having something to believe in. Some people, it's religion. You believe in your family, you believe in your friends. And then let's circle this back to Donnie. What is it about Donnie's battle that you are drawing from each and every day now? Because it's 2 Augsburg guys that have, a brain tumor, a brain cancer. It's just kind of weird how that works out. And you had somebody that you were so close to. What do you remember about discussions you had with your friends and Donnie specifically about his battle that you are pulling in to, I guess, again, your road to management, to managing this?
So I think it circles back to that I can't feel sorry for myself. This is kind of where I'm at in life. It does me no good to feel sorry for myself. I've got a great care team in place. I'm going to stay positive every single day. As hard as that is, that might not be realistic every single day. I might give myself 5 minutes maybe to feel a little bit sorry for myself, and that's it. And then you move on. Hands you're dealt, you stay busy, you keep your feet moving, you keep moving forward, and you draw in faith that good people like Donnie Wickman watching you from above, and that you're going to beat it.
Right behind you, there is a minimum expectation, 100% effort, and a positive attitude. I just now looked up and saw this, and you're right here in the foreground. So let's put an Augsburg spin on that. What's the effort level right now? And obviously it's a positive attitude.
Yeah, effort level is just 110% moving forward, working out every single day, keep my body in the best shape that I can, doing the right things, eating right, avoiding alcohol, just doing what I can, controlling what I can control, not letting any outside factors come into play, trying to use this as a positive role model. Again, I know there's so many other people that are fighting so many other battles. Maybe it's not cancer, maybe it's something small, but it's a big battle to them. And you keep moving, you keep the faith, and I do honestly think that things do get better with time.
Not to sound grim here, but that's one question you got to ask doctors. What is the long-term prognosis here?
The long-term prognosis is that I'm going to focus on every single day. I'm going to be grateful for every single day that I have, and I'm going to make the most out of every single day, no matter what.
Nick Slack, people are going to come up to you, and those that already know they're going to ask how you're doing. They're going to ask if you need anything. What do you need from the wrestling community right now? What do you need from your friends and family?
I'm a big guy on faith and prayers. I started kind of a cool thing over the last year. I've got a group that texts me every single morning. There's about 2 or 3 guys that send a text message, and I reply or I send them something. And I've just really passed this along, and I've heard so many stories, especially guys in this world. Athletes tend to try and be macho. They tend to try and not show emotion. And a lot of these guys are sending text messages to each other every single morning, and they come back and tell me how much of a difference that's made in their day and how much better they feel that someone is checking in on them every single day. And just what a positive ray that can be in the world.
Nick Slack, we're here with your battle every step of the way, man. You've been a great friend over the years. I mean, who do you just randomly just give a ride to the airport to on the way to South Africa? This guy gave me a ride to the airport on my way to see my then girlfriend, now my wife. Like, where are you going? South Africa. Oh, sounds cool. No problem. Like, you know, first of all, you know, you help it. He'd help you move. It's the type of friend he is, you know. Gives you a ride to the airport, helps you move. Nick Slack.
I would say everyone stay tuned. I've got some big things that are coming out in the next couple months. You can maybe keep in your back pocket. Support will be coming then. I really think we're going to do a lot of great things in this world. Keep the faith, guys. Like I said, I know everyone's going through something. Stay positive. I think you'll beat it. 1% improvement every day. Do it anyway.